from an entrepreneurial point of view, I know some guys I speak to and they say, well, how did you bounce back and blah, blah, blah. I say to them, you know what, the best way to bounce back is learn to live in the gutter for a couple of years, because then you really do understand the value of money and you will never make the mistake again. So for me, when I was down and out, and there were some very dark times when I was literally on my own for quite a long time. And when you go from being a rich man and then overnight you're actually a poor man, it can be quite soul destroying. It's not too good on the psyche. And it's around that time you have to really look deep into the abyss and find out who you are. Because if you do not find out, or if you do not have the gumption or the motivation to do that, you're going to end up staying where you are at best. Otherwise, you could just disappear. You're off the planet, you're nobody.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ways to Wealth. Today I am joined by Vinay. Vinay, why don't you give us the too long didn't read on who you are and what got you here?
Yeah, hi, I'm Vinay Deobhakta. I'm a lawyer by background, businessman since, well, most of my life actually, since the age of 15. But I had two parallel careers, business and that was predominantly sales. At the same time, I was running with a legal career. In 2009, I transitioned effectively full-time into business.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's interesting. I actually, I know a lot of really great investors and business people that started off in law as a good base.
Right.
And then end up going down the path. You know, Charlie Munger studied law, Peter Thiel studied law. So, you know, seems to be a long track record of people that study and are interested in law to begin with, end up going and using it elsewhere.
Well, historically speaking, lawyers and bankers have, in many ways, controlled the world many centuries. So it doesn't hurt at all to have a law degree if you can get one, and banking knowledge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of you know the rules of the game, and you also have all the assets, all the toys.
Well, certainly from an entrepreneurial point of view, if you do have some legal knowledge, that's a massive asset, which is going to benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd recommend for anyone out there, if they really do want to broaden their horizons and their knowledge and round it off, a law degree will finish it off for you quite nicely.
Yeah, totally agree. So you mentioned that you've transitioned full time in 2009 to law, to business, but prior to that, what did the arc look like? And did you always know you were an entrepreneur? By the sounds of it, obviously at 15, you started your own business ventures, you mentioned to stay. Yeah. So what was the was there a catalyst young where you're like, I'm going to control my destiny? What was it?
Well, in a nutshell, I'm from a prestigious legal family. My father was the state attorney of Uganda, in Africa.
Yeah.
And because of the dictator Idi Amin, he was a bit before your time, but in the late 60s, early 70s, he came to power as a general in the army in Uganda. He was British backed. And so when the whole of Africa, effectively, when the British pulled out, when the French pulled out of their countries, the Congo and all that kind of thing, they left the countries to themselves. And they put in they assisted their favorite strongmen into positions of power. So take Uganda for an example. The British backed Idi Amin, who was a general in the army, and they backed him to effectively end up taking over the country. He did. He was a madman, and quite a lot of hijinks followed on the political spectrum over the next 5-6 years. Amin ended up throwing out all of the people of Indian descent from Uganda. His reasoning was that they effectively ruled the economy, and they had not treated the Africans as well as they should have. They had not intermingled with them. And when Amin came to power, he threw out the Indians, and most of the Indians got scattered around the world. A lot went to England. I ended up with my parents over here in New Zealand.
Right.
And Dad became a high-profile lawyer here in no time at all.
Right.
And then after 7 years of practicing as a lawyer here, he was made a judge in Auckland, and he stayed a judge here for 34 years, I think.
Right.
So he was quite a high-profile judge as well. And I grew up in his footsteps, really. And from the age of 15, I'd also been very interested in business. I have sort of like two dads, a rich dad, poor dad, I used to call them. Now, the rich dad was a very good friend, a family friend of ours, who was a businessman by the name of Sir Roger Bidnaga. He owned a lot of stereo shops, 4 stereo shops here in Auckland. And as a 15-year-old, I worked for him part-time as a salesman. So that was my introduction to business. Raj was a mentor of mine. He went on to become very successful in retail. He ended up owning Noel Leemings.
Oh, yeah.
And he sold out of Noel Leemings after a while, became a very successful property investor.
Okay.
And set up a legacy for his family. So that was Raj. Now, on the other side, I had my dad, who was a judge and a lawyer. So I went to law school. At the same time as going through law school, I was still working part-time as a salesman. I loved both professions. When I graduated as a lawyer, it was time for me to make a decision. What do I want to do? I could have gone into sales at the time and furthered my retail experience. At the time, the starting salaries in sales were like double what they were in law.
Right.
But I made a decision to practice law for a few years at least and see what it was like. I ended up in one of the big international firms here in Auckland. Loved it. Was a senior associate there in commercial litigation stuff, banking and finance and all that kind of stuff for 4 years. And then I got seconded over to England. We're a very big firm over there, an American firm, Arthur Anderson. That was real fun. They sent me all around Europe to do all sorts of stuff. Get warrants for arrest for luxury yachts and stuff like that when clients had failed to make payments on them.
Right.
It was quite exciting to be in your mid-20s in those times, mid-90s, and floating around Europe doing all that kind of work.
Yeah.
And I was also working in America at the same time. So I got a really good exposure to the legal side of things, made a lot of money as a lawyer, came back to New Zealand way overqualified to work probably anywhere in this country, but ended up taking a job, believe it or not, in the Bay of Plenty. My income went right down like this, but I did that for a reason, and that was to get a lot more jury trial experience. So when I came back from England, people, family and friends here in the legal side were going, are you mad? You've got all this experience over in Europe, receivership, insolvency, corporate debt recovery, capital raisings up to hundreds of millions of dollars. You could work in a big firm here and command a very decent salary. You could become a partner in a big firm here just like that, and you could have a great life. I said, no, I wanted to get more experience, grassroots experience. And what I meant by that is I'd just come back from America and I had experienced the O.J. Simpson trial.
Right.
Now, that was a very high-profile trial in those days where O.J. Simpson, who's a football star in America, had been accused of murdering his former partner and her friend. And there'd been a very high-profile trial over there, which I was fixated on when I was watching over there, seeing these American lawyers, how they interacted with juries.
Right.
And I thought, wow, I'm a litigator, but I'm a commercial lawyer at the time, banking and finance. I don't have this kind of jury trial experience, and I wanted it.
Right.
So that's what took me to the Bay of Plenty. So for a couple of years on a very low salary,
Yep.
I said to the guys out there, don't worry. They said, how can you, we're not going to be able to pay you what you're worth. I said, don't worry, I'm here for the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And within about 2 years, I'd already racked up almost 100 jury trials.
Right.
So, wow, that's quite amazing, right? If I'd stayed in Auckland or a bigger city, after 2 years, I wouldn't have even had one jury trial.
Right. Yeah, okay.
But I went down to the Bay of Plenty. I said, I'm open for business. I've got a bit of experience behind me. I'm a confident guy. let's see how it goes. Well, it turned out I was a very good, probably I would say in retrospect, a gifted jury lawyer.
Well, probably helped the sales background. Probably helped there, no?
It did. Yeah, to be a lawyer, you have to be, especially juries, you have to be persuasive.
Yeah.
You haven't got one judge, you've got to persuade, you've got 13.
Yeah.
And so you need to be persuasive. And of course, you have to do everything within the rules of the game. So you can't mislead people, you can't lie and all that kind of stuff. You still have rules that you have to adhere to. Just like in sales, you have ethics, ethical principles. So yeah, within that time frame, within that framework of rules, yeah, I did pretty well. I think I had a very high, strike rate of wins and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed it. That was why I did so well in it, because I enjoyed it. And then from there, as I developed as a lawyer, I became very successful, got a lot of high profile trials and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up expanding my practice. And instead of just the Bay of Plenty, I started getting work from here, Auckland, Wellington, a little bit in Christchurch, Australia, started practicing in Australia, UK. I had practiced as a lawyer over there as a solicitor. So that was quite good. In my later years, I'm a UK citizen as well. I started being able to attract work from places like London and stuff like that, which took me to different countries. It was high level work as a lawyer. It was good fun.
Mm. Yeah.
It was good fun. That took me up to 2009.
Right.
And then
there a moment then there's a catalyst?
There was a huge catalyst. I became a very high profile lawyer here in New Zealand, which is a small jurisdiction. If you look at the jurisdiction here of lawyers, we're a very small country, but we're over lawyered. We have maybe 17,000 lawyers for such a small country, which is ridiculous.
Right.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, we are per capita, we have the highest ratio of lawyers per person except the US.
Right.
So what happened with me, I was young. How old are you?
33.
I was a little bit older than you. I was sort of in my mid-30s to late 30s, and I started effectively attracting a lot of jealousy from other lawyers in the country.
Right.
And I didn't really know how to handle my profile here. And so instead of, I guess, exercising a little bit of humility, I was the opposite. I thought, well, if you guys are jealous about me, let me rub it in your face. You want to see success? I'll show you success. I didn't realize at the time that that was not going to work for me. And I got what I call the evil eye. And there were quite a few who I call powerful old boy lawyers who didn't really like the fact that there was this up and coming sort of upstart, sort of starting to become a bit of a peacock. And I attracted a bit of trouble. And the thing that really derailed me, which took me by surprise, it came out right out of left field, was I got a complaint one day from a client, which was effectively, it started off for swearing at him. And what had effectively happened, to cut a long story short, I'd acted for this guy in a tax matter. I was on the verge of getting him a very good settlement. I'd acted for 32 of his buddies and got them all favorable outcomes with Inland Revenue. And I was on track for doing it with this guy, but things went wrong and I didn't handle it properly. He owed me money, $4,000, a very small amount. And I started to get a little bit irritated when I saw him around town, because where I was practicing in those days, it was a small town.
Right.
And I used to see him sort of in my free time and his free time, throwing away a lot of money and stuff like that. And here he'd been accused of ripping off IRD, or about $1 million in GLT fraud. So it wasn't evading tax, it was actually pocketing money. Well, he was filing false GST claims, actually receiving the money and putting it into his belly. And it was to the tune of $1.4 million this naughty man had received.
Wow.
Now, I was in the process of, he was looking at jail time, and I was in the process of helping him negotiate a settlement with IRD, like I had with 32 other people, and calming the situation down, negotiating a settlement with them where he would be able to then pay them back all this money over about a 10-year period. But in return, they'd let him keep on working so that he get paid.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and that was looking pretty good, but he upset me. And this is where my ego was running rampant. All these years later, almost 20 years later, I learned one thing out of that. There was ego edging God out.
Okay.
All right. So I hit some rock bottom times after this, which I'm going to tell you about.
Yeah.
But that is the principle that I kept in my mind and always do now, which has helped me to become very successful now. Edging God out, ego. So every time I get a swelled head, and I do from time to time, I'm a very talented, gifted guy. I have a lot of interests and I have a lot of talents in a lot of things. Right. Well, apart from law and sales. Right. So every now and then, guys like me, we need people to steady us. In those days, I didn't. I was just too full of myself. And so this is what attracted that jealousy. And going back to the Law Society matter, effectively what happened one day, I saw that fella in the street. I said, boy, you've owed me $4,000 for 9 months now. I've seen you driving around in all your cars, etc., doing all this stuff, throwing away money. You're still waiting to go to sort out this IRD matter. I'm not happy. And I'm not proud of it, but I actually physically collared him, marched him to the bank, and I made him withdraw $4,000 and put it in my account. Now, that was a breach of Law Society rules.
Right.
As a senior lawyer, as a barrister, that was a no-no.
Yeah.
Okay, now I was on the verge of, I'd been asked to become a judge 3 or 4 years earlier, and I'd said no because I think I'm too young. I was on the verge in those days. I think I would have been what you call a Queen's Counsel or King's Counsel or whatever. I was on the verge of doing that, and then I wanted to become a judge. So it was the wrong time of my career to be misbehaving.
Yeah.
And I'd been practicing for 20 years by then, and I'd never had a complaint against me with the Law Society or anything, right? So this guy went off and went to another lawyer, and basically this lawyer took it over and decided to drive this complaint. And he made it into like the case of the century for the Law Society. And so even though it was only over $4,000, because it was over money, and they'd just brought in the new financial rules in the Law Society, how money should be handled and stuff like this, bad timing for me. They said, even though it's only $4,000, even though ultimately it's your own money, that money should have still gone into a solicitor's account, an instructing solicitor's account.
Right.
Like they do in England. Okay, if you're a barrister and you come to me and you want me to act for you, I've got to say, go and see that solicitor.
Yeah.
And get the solicitor to instruct me.
Just can't receive money.
That's right. So what I did was a no-no. I went and just received the money straight away, directly from the client. What I should have done was said to him, put that money into my instructing solicitor's account now.
Right.
And then I would have been paid by the solicitor and everything would have been fine. But because it didn't go into the instructing solicitor's account, I took it directly. The Law Society, only about 3 or 4 lawyers, all old guys, probably dead now, they seize upon that. Okay, like Napoleon, Battle of Waterloo, right? You know the background about some of these famous battles?
Give us some concepts.
Napoleon's autobiography. First chapter, one of his autobiographies, seize the minimal, maximize the minimal. That's what the Law Society did in terms of warfare,
right?
Corporate warfare. And that's what litigation is. It's corporate warfare. They saw a little hole. They went in quickly and they registered this complaint against me. Now, at that point, this is in December 2009, they also suspended me from practicing, which was extremely draconian. There are lawyers out there now who have been accused of, who are awaiting charges of actual criminal stuff, who are still allowed to practice. Whereas for me, some guy made the decision, oh, well, let's just stop him from practicing now until this is heard, till this is resolved. Well, it wasn't resolved for another 3 years. So my income got turned off from that point on. Okay, which is extremely draconian. I mean, like, quite frankly, it was criminal. It's a breach of human rights to do that, especially to a guy like me, because I was almost 40 then. I'd been practicing as a lawyer. Virtually all my income streams were coming from law around the world. When they suspended me, the way the rules work is I couldn't work as a lawyer anywhere. I couldn't work in Australia. I couldn't go back to the UK and practice, which was economically devastating for me. Now, what happened with me was, like, there were firms in the UK who actually wanted me to go to the United Arab Emirates and work in British firms over there to head commercial banking teams. Salaries in those days were 300,000 euro. And I'm on the phone in New Zealand to these guys who are ringing me saying, come over here and work here. And I'm saying, I can't, because the law society here has suspended me from practice. And until that's resolved, I can't work anywhere in the world. Now, the issue for me was, well, what am I going to do for 3 years? I can't earn any money. So bankruptcy was pretty clear. I was going to be bankrupted, and I embraced bankruptcy.
Okay. So I just go one step back. Interrupt your story for a moment. So did you, was it a matter of principle, or did you need that $4,000 at the time? What was the kind of...
No, I didn't need the money. I was a very well-off man of substance then.
Right. So it was
effectively the relationship with the client. He was a good friend of mine.
Right.
Okay. And this is another thing. Never act friends or family.
Right.
Now, in this particular situation, I broke the rule. My friend said, look, I'm in real big trouble with the IRD. You're helping 32 of my friends. I'm part of that group. Can you help me? And I said, yes.
Right.
I shouldn't have. In retrospect, I said, look, I know you too well. Go and see someone else. But I colored the relationship by actually acting for him.
Okay.
That was the first thing. And so, yeah, so I had the money at the time, 4,000. I mean, I was married. Had a child. At the time, I think I had 2 or 3 houses. I had a lot of business going on. But what hurt me was the inability to keep on earning a living. See,
so you had a lot of liabilities as well as assets.
I had, at that time, I had liabilities, and I hadn't consolidated fast enough. I had a lot of friends who were older than me were saying, look, now's the time to cash up. Probably about a year before this happened, had I cashed up, I think, life would have been very different.
Right.
But I didn't cash up. I said I was young. I can still bear these liabilities. I'm earning a lot of money. If I need money, I'll just take on more work.
Right.
And so what I had not envisaged was a tiny mistake like that, getting offside with who I call the old boys network at the Law Society, who run a very discretionary kind of ship. What I mean by that is you can have, if you get into trouble right now at the Law Society, the way it was set up then, I don't know now, they may have changed it, but then it was still more of like the old boys country club. If you're a good guy, we're going to bend over backwards to make sure, okay, we're going to help you. It may be that you've been accused of ripping off. There was one lawyer who ripped off one of the banks, like $43 million. He had a big part in a money laundering scheme. Right. He worked at one of the big firms. They looked after him for 2 or 3 years before he went to jail. So he was allowed to work and still make a living and support his family, make plans for when he's going to go to jail, right until the day he got sentenced. And then he got sentenced. He did a bit of time. He went to jail, ruined his career, but they still treated him with a little bit of humanity. They let him have an income while all his offending was worked out. It was done in a proper way. For me, it was different, and I think for other people it's been different too. It's just really ad hoc.
Yeah,
how they administer their own justice.
Yeah, or administered their own justice.
Yeah, and of course they treated me like I was like a criminal. I mean, like, I don't have any convictions. I'd done nothing criminal. It was never, ever suggested that I'd done anything criminal. This was just a breach of their administrative rules.
Right.
Hey, look, it was draconian. It was not a good thing to do. It was bad behavior on their part. But guess what?
What?
For me, it was a good thing for me, spiritually speaking. Right. I look back at it now and I think, thank God that happened.
Right.
Thank God it happened. Okay, because what it did was having no money, it threw me back to my entrepreneurial skills.
Right.
I had to survive. I had a wife. I had a daughter to support.
Mm.
So what did I do? I came home and I said, honey, we're in a bit of shit. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to work. Okay, she was, what do we do? What do we do? I said, time to start selling.
Right.
Okay, the natural born salesman came out. That weekend, I was at the markets, sitting on a mat that I'd laid on the carpet with all my chattels, things that I had to get rid of, whether I wanted to keep them or not, had no choice.
Yeah.
And I was selling things that I'd purchased for $150 a month or two before. Now I'm finding out the true value of goods.
Yeah. Right.
$5.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I only bought it like 2 months ago. It's brand new. Look at it. $5, brother. Take it or leave it. I take the 5. Thank you. Okay. That's how I survived. And so that's basically what I was doing for quite a while, maybe 2 or 3 years. And marriage, unfortunately, didn't survive. Okay, so I was married for 20 years. The financial pressure that we were under at the time, it was just too much for us. You know, I had my first wife. I have a very good relationship with her. Thank God. We're very civil to each other. We're still good friends, but we both accept that, yeah, at the time, we couldn't handle the pressure that we were under financially. So we had to make some plans. We had to.
And was the unraveling of the finances too many properties and too much debt? What was it?
From a business point of view, yeah, I think what I'd recommend now, if I could do that again, I would have consolidated a lot earlier. I think I had too much debt. I was carrying too much debt, and I was okay with that because it was buoyed by
A good income.
a false confidence that my good income would continue forever.
Right. Yeah.
What I had not anticipated was that my income would shut off.
Yeah.
Again, as I say, from an entrepreneurial point of view, I know some guys I speak to and they say, well, how did you bounce back and blah, blah, blah. I say to them, you know what, the best way to bounce back is learn to live in the gutter for a couple of years.
Mm.
All right?
Yeah.
Because then you really do understand the value of money. And you'll never make the mistake again. So for me, when I was down and out, and there were some very dark times when I was literally on my own for quite a long time. And I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but when you go from being a rich man and then overnight you're actually a poor man, it can be quite soul destroying. It's not too good on the psyche.
Right.
All right. And it's around that time you have to really look deep into the abyss and find out who you are.
Mm.
Because if you do not find out, or if you do not have the gumption or the motivation to do that, you're going to end up staying where you are at best.
Mm.
But otherwise, you could just disappear. You're off the planet. You're nobody. So in those days, when I was in that frame of mind, I used to say to myself, where do I want to be in the future? Do I want to be here? No way. Do I want to be rich again? Absolutely. All right. So how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
And I had to start plotting and planning. And that's when I fell back to my sales career.
Okay.
And it turned out over a 7-year period, I ended up on my sales skills, effectively just bouncing back.
Right.
I said,
Well, on you focused on sales?
I focused on high-end industry sales, ranging from selling high-end vehicles, Ferraris, Lamborghinis and Lexus and all those kind of things, to air conditioning units. I was in Australia for quite a while, and I was, again, an independent sales consultant. I used to say to people, look, I'm a struck-off lawyer. I can't do anything for you internally on the legal stuff, but I'm a salesman. Give me a go. And literally within a week or so, they'd realize, wow, this guy's more than a salesman. He's actually a very good salesman, high-end salesman. And so that's how I started bouncing back. That's how I started, effectively building up my net worth again and my self-worth.
And how long? You said there was a 2-year period or so where you had to bounce back, or 3 years. It might have been more.
It took me 7 years to, like, my accountant basically effectively, I was one of these guys where even when I knew I was going to get bankrupted,
Yeah.
and I knew there were going to be hard times ahead,
Yeah.
I just basically said, right, there's got to be, now what do I do? Right? There's a reason why this is happening.
Right.
And that was the beginning of a real spiritual growth for me, because I went to church.
Mm-hmm.
I'd had this Bible on my desk for 20 years in my office, because we used to, every time someone needed to swear documents or something, you get the Bible, put your hand on that. And I never flicked through it. I think once in the office one day I was a bit bored or something, I picked up the Bible and said, I must read this one day. And put it back down. It was only when I got bankrupted, I said to my friend who's a multimillionaire, that's another thing for people who are young. If they ever get bankrupted and stuff like that, don't know what to do, talk to your mentors. I had a lot of them. I went to one of my mentors and said, oh, God, what do I do? How do I get out of this? He goes, well, I was like you 12 years ago. I got bankrupted. I didn't know that. He says, yeah, and look at me now. And this guy, like then he was a multimillionaire. And I said, what did you do? And he said, read this. And he gave me a Bible. He said, what do I do now? He goes, just go away. Start reading it.
Right.
And that was the beginning of my spiritual journey.
Okay.
Because I did. I actually went home and I just flicked through the pages, and the stuff that I was looking at actually started resonating with me,
Right.
motivated me. I realized, well, wait on, there are a lot of things, characters in these 66 books, which are actually kind of like me. They'd made mistakes and everything, and they were down and out, but look at them now, they bounced back. And now they're helping other people.
Right.
And that's when I thought, okay, well, here's some inspiration here. So those little things, little step by step, those kind of things, motivated me to start thinking properly again, getting back on my feet.
And like you had a period in time where you knew your outcome was bankruptcy, and it must be very hard to plan during that phase.
Yeah, I think.
And at the same time, were you also going through divorce, or was the divorce delayed after?
Yeah, we went through the bankruptcy. I was still married. It was when I got struck off. Ultimately, the resources that had been spent, not only money, but time and emotion that had gone into fighting bankruptcy and to fighting the striking off.
Ah, right. See, there were a lot of resources that were spent trying to avoid actually being struck off and having that reversed.
Yes, because I was trying to get the Law Society to see reason. As a senior lawyer, I was saying, you guys aren't being judicial here. You're actually being personal. The 4 guys that struck me off, they weren't judges. They were 4 old lawyers that I'd never heard of, never have seen before, never have seen since. It was a farce of a hearing. It was a circus. I don't really need to go into it now. One day I will, if I have to. But it was pitiful. And I kept on trying to tell them, hey, you guys, come on, take a step back here. See what I've done. Normally what I would have done would be attracting a fine, $250, mine. Or the most, because I was so senior, maybe a period of supervision, a suspension for 6 months or something. Even that would have been draconian. But just to strike me off, no mitigating features at all, was just no way you look at it, no angle that you look at it, it could be just justified. Now, one of the big principles about bouncing back, though, of course, is you learn to forgive those kind of people. The quicker you can, the quicker you can bounce back.
Right.
And that's what I learned from my spiritual studies. First year or so, I was thinking, who are these guys? When I bounce back, I'm going to find out who they are. I'm going to teach them a lesson. I'm going to get everything right, record into history what actually happened, blah, blah, blah. But as time went on, I realized, the best way to do this is actually to forgive these guys and get on with my life. Let the universe deal with their issues. whatever they've done. Let them, be the author of their own folly. I don't have to do that. Why don't I forgive them for what they did? Yes, they took it personally. Yes, I didn't handle it either. In retrospect, I was too combative.
Yes.
Instead of saying, becoming a lawyer back to them, I should have said, hey, I fall on the sword. I made a mistake. Going through a tough time. Yes, I accept I shouldn't have marched them into the bank. That was sort of uncalled for such a senior lawyer.
Yep.
He has his $4,000 back.
Yep.
Maybe, if I'd done that, they would have gone, yeah, you're a naughty boy. That's the end of it. But what I did do was I got aggressive. I said, who are you to be telling me that I've done wrong?
Right.
And then it was, who are you to be saying it's that bad? Come on, see the truth for what it is, et cetera, et cetera. So it's still engaged in the fight.
Yeah.
And so in retrospect now, when I have clients who come to me in those situations, I say, just fall on the sword, deal with it after if you're not happy about the way they're treating you.
All right. Get to a resolution fast.
It's through a resolution.
And then
Put it to bed. Think about things that are positive in life. Don't be crumpled up by negativity. So my big break, you might be wondering, well, that's good. He was bankrupted. He got into sales, but that's like, okay, well, he's done pretty well, high income again. But how did he bounce back, really bounce back to when his accountant tells him, hey, man, you're back to where you were before you got struck off?
right. How long? And that took 7 years.
Just under 7 years.
Okay.
Now, the reason why is because I used my brains.
Okay.
I was struck off. I had a lot of clients that were still saying, man, we need you.
Right.
You've been our lawyer for 20 years and what do we do? Now, I'd say, oh, I can't help you. I haven't got a practicing certificate. Go and see so-and-so. So-and-so charges so much. We can't afford him. The only reason we come to you mainly is because you are free. I said, well, not quite free. I can't help you. But what I can do is if you can't get a lawyer, if you can't get legal aid, then come back to me. Let's see if I can help you as a McKenzie friend.
Okay. Well,
you know what that is?
no.
A McKenzie friend is, you know how you have people who go to court and they're acting for themselves?
Yep.
They don't want a lawyer or can't get a lawyer?
Right.
They're called self-representatives.
Okay.
Another word for them is self-litigants.
Okay.
Now, those people who go along by themselves, in the British legal system, they are allowed to take a support person.
Right.
That support person doesn't have to be a lawyer.
Right.
It can be anyone.
Right.
When I found that out, I said, well, let's look into this a little bit more. I researched it and found out that this rule, this entitlement in our system we've been allowed that since the days of the Magna Carta in the 1500s.
Right.
A very little known secret, though. I asked myself, why don't more people know about this? And then I realized, well, of course, especially in New Zealand, it's not really in the lawyer's interest to be telling people, well, you don't need us, you can take a support person.
Right.
The problem with the support person is it's no use taking your mum along or your best buddy or your neighbor if they're just coming to hold your hand. They're just there for psychological support. What I did was I studied all our friends in England. I remember the days when I was studying in England. I said, what are these guys doing now? Then I found out that a lot of them were actually starting to become McKenzie friends, the support people, but they're going another level up because they're actually training. I said, what are they training? And they were training how to be effectively like a bush lawyer, a good bush lawyer. You know what
a bush lawyer?
A bush lawyer is it's like a slang for someone who doesn't have a legal degree, but who knows a heck about the law and also the procedures. And they're very helpful to support people.
Okay.
So when I saw this in England, I thought, well, this is great. I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm actually going to professionalize this support person,
right?
This McKenzie friend. So I went to Australia. I was in Australia from 2016 to 2020. Right? I went to Australia and I set up a business, McKenzie Friend Professionals.
Right.
And that was a company which specialized in Aussie, with me as the trainer, training people who had their own case but didn't want a lawyer, but they wanted to self-litigate and they wanted a support person. I said, well, I can help you on both. Come to my training course. I will teach you, bring your case with you, I will teach you over a 3-day period on how to run your case by yourself in the court. Really? Yeah. And so they got me for three days to be able to effectively give them free advice on their case. And at the end of the 3 days, I developed a training program, which is so good. But at the end of the 3 days, they were going, man, I want to go. I'm ready. And I had to go, whoa. I'd have to actually, some of them have to bring them back a little bit. You're a little bit overconfident. And so I developed a training program through this business, McKenzie Friend Professionals.
Right.
It's a training program for self-litigants.
Right.
And also, I developed another training program for people who want to be professional support people called McKenzie Friends.
Right.
All right. So say if you've got a case
Mm-hmm.
and it's an appropriate one for McKenzie Friends, not all of them are. If you have a murder trial and you come to me going, I want to do it myself, I'll be going, you're a fool. You need a lawyer.
Right.
If you come to me and you say, I'm in the family court and it's just like, I know all the facts and it's about access. I want to see my kid and my partner's not letting me. I can't afford a lawyer.
Right.
Then I'd say to you, well, this is a perfect case for you to do yourself. If you're articulate, which you are, if you know the facts of your case, then you could do this. I'll show you how to do it. I'll train you on how to do it. I'll tell you what the issues are, what you've got to concentrate on, what you've got to avoid. I'll tell you what your strong points are. I'll tell you what your weak points are. I'll tell you how to address the judge, how to address the other party. I'll show you how to open your case. I'll show you how to cross-examine the other side, witnesses. I'll show you how to close your case. I'll show you the relevant law, how you can find the relevant law to your case and you can read it and I can help you refine it. So that's the self-litigant side of it. Now, what a lot of self-litigants during their 3-day period will say to me is, I'm great, I'm ready. But now it'll be so good if I can have a support person with me too that you've trained. So what I do then is there's certain people that I have trained as McKenzie Friends through my company. That's another training program. That's another training course. That's another 4-day course. And that's NZQA certified. So those people who do that support person course, they actually get a equivalent of some sort of qualification as well. And those people, they then specialize in helping people like you, the self-litigant. So when you marry up, you've got a good, formidable team. And so that's a company that I started in Australia. Sorry, not a company, a business. And that was going very well. The Aussies really took to it. The original McKenzie Friend, believe it or not, was an Australian.
Right.
The original McKenzie Friend case took place in England.
Right.
But the actual McKenzie Friend, the guy who went as a support person, he was an Aussie.
Oh, okay.
So, the Aussies took to McKenzie Friend. They like it. They think this is great. Kiwis, they like it too, but the difference in the two jurisdictions, Aussies are a lot more acceptable to things which are a little bit outside the square. Okay? Aussies tend to be very practical.
Right.
When I went over to Aussie, they're black and white, When I went in 2016, I didn't know a soul. I sort of flew over there thinking, oh, here I am. I'm going to make some business here. How am I going to do this? So, well, I'm going to have to meet some people. So the first person I met, believe it or not, I got off the train from the airport, and I couldn't find my place where I'd booked. And this was in Surfers Paradise. And there was this real estate agent, gorgeous, statuesque sort of real estate agent closing her office for the end of the day. And I said to her, excuse me, where can I find a taxi? And she said, oh, you're calling me sexy? And I said, yeah. And she said, come on, I'll show you. Where do you want to go? Right? That was like a breath of fresh air for me because I'd been stuck in New Zealand with all this other negativity and everything. I go over to Aussie and I'm fit down in gloom thinking I've got to make it here. And I'm met with that kind of fresh attitude.
Right.
And that was, and that's what I like about the Aussies. Doing business in Aussie is great. I love it. They call you black and white. a spade, and that's what I like.
Okay.
You see, so for me, it was very easy to do business, do very successful in the McKenzie Friend in Aussie.
Yep.
And it did really bring me back into my own.
Right.
I was just about to go back up to another level and actually incorporate the company over there and really take it to another level. And then guess what happened? COVID.
Okay.
COVID hit, and I have an elderly mum here in New Zealand, and I also have a daughter as well. And so I had been coming over here regularly to meet with them, to see them every 5 or 6 weeks. And I was here for my birthday in 2021, I think, or end of 2020.
Right.
And COVID had come, or was about to come. And I said to my elderly mum, I said, let me just stay here for another few days just to see what happens with this COVID, because, if they're talking about lockdowns and stuff and you're on your own, so maybe I'll have to hang around here. And she said, yeah, have a look, see what happens. And the very next day, I think we went into lockdown.
Right.
So I was effectively here for almost like 2 years.
Yeah, right.
So what I had to do during that period, I had to shift everything from Aussie back to New Zealand.
Right.
And that's when I that's when I had a company, McKenzie Friend Professionals Limited.
In New Zealand.
In New Zealand. And you can still search that. That's on the website now. If you put in McKenzie Friend, it usually comes up first or second on the internet. Yeah. That company is doing very well.
Right.
And a lot of self-litigants are now more and more doing my training programs, getting very good results, very favorable outcomes.
And the appeal is that they don't have the access, the ability to afford the legal bills, and they need to condense them?
Yeah.
Or is it a principled? I guess it might be a mix of both.
It's a mix of both. You see, first of all, not every case is appropriate for McKenzie Friend or for self-litigants.
Yeah.
There are some cases, like I mentioned, a murder trial. Really, you might want to do that yourself. You might want to get your mate who maybe got off a murder trial himself years ago and he's now wants to be a support person. That's dangerous. The risks are too high. The stakes are far too high. Those people need a lawyer.
Right.
But there is that other kind of case, which is at the lower end of the spectrum. Disputes tribunal cases.
Right.
Tenancy disputes. All those kind of things. You don't technically need a lawyer.
Right.
If you know what you're doing, if you know your facts, which is the main thing, if you're the master of the facts and you are reasonably articulate, then someone like me can help you present your case.
And how do you skirt that line and work and have clear boundaries about, what's a legal opinion versus what's not a legal opinion?
You've got to be very careful not to give legal advice.
Yeah.
Right. So as a lawyer, I'm a lawyer by profession, but I'm not technically a lawyer anymore, because under the Act, Lawyers and Conveyancers Act, a lawyer is someone with a practicing certificate, not a person with a legal degree.
Yes.
So when people come to me, I have to be very careful that I'm not giving them legal advice.
Yeah.
So the advice I'm giving them is mainly about strategy in their case.
Yeah.
And also it's about procedure.
Yeah.
And you'll find in that kind of case, the one that's appropriate, where the law is not complex, it's easy.
Right.
If the law is complex, it's not really appropriate for a McKenzie Friend.
Okay.
Or for a self-litigant.
Yeah.
Okay, you really should get a lawyer. Now, there is a hybrid to all this, and that's the kind of case which I have quite a few on, where I have clients who have lawyers in their cases, but they've still got me as a McKenzie Friend working with them and the lawyer. Okay, and that's to keep their legal fees down.
Yeah, we have done a really good job in our business of having 3 different lawyers that we use and have become our team.
Yeah.
And having them have different areas that they focus on within our group, within our business.
Yeah.
But I think what we've done very well, and I think what people need to do, is they need to structure requests for advice and work in a way where you don't get what we call bill shock.
Yes, that's very wise.
Really where things get unstuck in legal cases and in legal work in general is where the outcome is not defined well enough. And the good thing about software and building software is you always have very clear outcomes and defined endpoints, user stories we call them. So we're good at structuring what the outcome we desire, which we've kind of taken that approach to how we request advice and pieces of work. And it's served us really well from a cost perspective over the last 5 years, for sure.
Well, the problem with the legal profession is it's over-specialized. When you, in the old days, if you came to someone like a family solicitor, the old family solicitor, he could do a will for you. He could also do the conveyancing for you if you wanted to buy a house.
Yeah.
If you got into a little bit of trouble in the district court over a careless driving charge, he could go down there and he could sort that out with you as well. These days, lawyers specialize.
Yeah.
Reason why fees are so much is because in a commercial transaction, there's so many facets to a commercial transaction. There's not one lawyer who can do it all.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if you go to a big firm and I advise people who in corporate mergers and acquisitions, and when we use the lawyers, you'll get one guy who will be able to do this documentation. Then he's got to pass it to the guy next door who's going to be able to do this one. Then if there's issues about getting consents or something, he's got to pass it to the lady in the next office who's going to go to the council and get the consent. And that's how all the fees go up. So how do you keep all those kind of fees down? Do you know how? Very difficult. And you have to know something about the legal practice to be able to keep the fees down. So someone like me, when I got struck off, I rang some friends and said, well, you guys are rich and I need a job. Get me in-house. So what I would do is I would advise the directors there on internal legal transactions. And I would say to them, well, this can be done a lot cheaper if you use this person.
Right.
All right. And when you use this person, tell her A, B, C, D. That's how the costs were done. If you didn't know to tell her to do A, B, C, D,
they got very right. It's a discover document.
And lawyers, I mean, at the end of the day, there's still a monopoly, really. That's very difficult. Even when you go and do something simple now and say, how much is it going to cost me to buy a house or something? They can't give you a fixed price. They can't give you a fixed price. It'll always be, well, subject to this, subject to that, and possibly this, and the timing here. Oh, the greatest one is in litigation. If I've got a dispute in the family court against my ex or something, I go to the lawyer and say, well, how much is it going to cost me? The answer will be, how long is a piece of string? They don't know. Now, from a business perspective, that is just danger. As a businessman, now I employ lawyers. Now I have in-house guys and accountants and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm constantly, because I know the law, I know the practice of law and accounting and everything, I'm constantly telling them, this is what you guys got to do.
Right.
A, B, C, D. Do it this way. If not, tell me why. Now, if you don't have that knowledge, it's like, can you please do this? Can you please do that? And then you cross your fingers if they're going to go out there and work in your best interests. It's dangerous.
It's difficult. You have to find good people as well, right?
You have to find good people. The good thing about it all now is AI. I believe that AI is going to revolutionize things big time across all professions, including law.
Especially law in a way.
Law, accounting, lawyers as we know it now, I think 80% of them won't have a job. I think there'll be the cream at the top, the bigger firms who have embraced AI.
Yeah.
Who know how to work with AI. They're going to be all right because they've embraced the technology. The rest of the profession, the model of the old school lawyer, dead in the wind. And I'm talking about not like I'm talking about this time next year. There'll be significant changes in the industry. You'll see lawyers will be made redundant across the board, especially the smaller firms, even the medium-sized firms.
You think it'll be this? Well, it's the grads. It goes back to grads again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. The grads are at risk ultimately. Partners are fine because partners can then utilize AI instead of grads to build work and to get things done.
Yeah, it depends on their. It depends on the partners. It depends on their mind frame. I think some of the older partners in that, I'm talking about 70 upwards, there's a resistance again to use technology. Lawyers have always been behind the 8 ball on it. And technology, by the way, yeah, you probably know that. Personal computers and stuff like that. Even in the mid-90s, most lawyers still didn't have a PC on their desk. They were getting their PA to do all the work.
Right.
I was one of them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing in development is it's hard for it's hard for grads because no one wants to pay a salary to get someone productive.
Absolutely. I mean, even before AI and everything, law, accounting, some of the bigger firms, as an employer, you normally, as a rule of thumb, didn't get your money back, your investment back, till about 3 years. So that means if I employed a lawyer straight out of law school,
Yeah.
I really want to keep him or her there for at least 3 years before I start seeing a return on my investment.
Yeah.
Now with AI,
Yeah.
that's not even there now. Okay, so I think significant changes on the horizon with the legal profession and finance and everything. Graduates, what I'd be saying to you guys, people coming out saying, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an accountant, I want to be a banker.
Yeah.
I'd be saying you're going to have some transferable skills. Keep it fluid. Don't be hell-bent on becoming a lawyer as you would know what a lawyer does now.
Right.
Think 3 or 4, 5 years in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And you need to be willing to embrace change a lot quicker.
Right.
The only reason I bounced back as quick as I did, I actually thought it'd be easy when I got bankrupted, be back to where I was. I thought it'd be about 5 or 6 years, but I did not take into account that my reputation had been sullied. Okay, in the internet. The Law Society was great at making sure these negative articles kept on featuring up at the top. And they do things like take out the date of the article, so it'd always be at the top. I was in Aussie in 2018, and I was doing some business with the council there. They were about to pay some money to do a McKenzie Friend pilot. And it was just about to go through, and she tells me, the lady at the council goes, oh, but there's this negative article about you, and every time we search your name, it comes up first, and it seems like this happened yesterday. I said, yesterday? This happened like 6 years ago. What? No, this was way back in 2018. I said, this happened ages ago, 6 years ago. And I looked at the article and no date. As soon as I complained to the Law Society about it, the next day the date was back there. And then about a week later, you can't see the article now. It's gone down the pages. But facing adversity like that was a real mind thing for me. So it wasn't as if I was starting from fresh again, like I was when I was a boy. And this is his first job. It was like I'm starting from fresh, and this time I've got like negative stuff to deal with as well. So really, it took me about just under 7 years to bounce back properly.
And now that you've kind of found, I guess, a niche and an area of which you're operating in, and you believe that there's real product market fit, and obviously you have this kind of tailwind of maybe industry changing and shifting, what does success look like for you then in the next 5 years?
Well, I'm transitioning now into mental health advocacy and litigation trauma. You know what litigation trauma is? I have a diploma in psychology and advanced counseling. I did that because during my dark times, I wanted to get to know myself.
Yeah.
And I realized that the more I could get to know myself, the more I was going to be able to deal with my situation quicker.
Right.
So what I've always wanted to do is I've wanted to, at this right time, transition into mental health advocacy, helping people, men and women, going through very difficult mental health issues.
Right.
And I want to be able to help them get through those things. And I also want to empower people to go on to do things that they're capable of doing. Things like excelling in business and sport, things like that. So my McKenzie Friend companies are going well now. I'm now reached a stage where I'm ready to start a new business venture. I call it a career move for Vinay.
Yeah.
And so in, I think, 7 June, I start a podcast channel. It's called A Fighter's Mind podcast.
Yep.
And that's all going to be about mental health advocacy. and helping people go through litigation trauma, people who are actually in cases like the family court and they received a letter from the court and they're too scared to even open the letter.
Right.
Okay, those kind of people, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, right.
Because I can help you. I've been through all that kind of stuff. Not only have I helped people for many years who are going through it, I went through that same stuff myself during the dark times. So I can empathize with those people. Do you know, I sometimes get clients, they ring me. I had a lady the other day who contacted me and said, do you know, I've had your phone number for 2 years, but I've been too scared to ring you. Now, those kind of people, there's no need to ring, no need to be scared. Ring me, okay? Contact me. I can help you. And that's the wonderful thing about what I've been through, because when I was going through all those issues myself, I had no money, had no partner, I had no, at one stage it was just, everything was bad. And I had to struggle. I used to get up in the morning and say, right, think of 5 things now that are good. That was the first thing I had to do to get out of bed. Otherwise, I would have stayed in bed all day. So 6:30 in the morning, the alarm would go, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up. I got nothing to do. I'd be thinking, think of 5 things that are good.
Right.
Okay, now it might take me half an hour to think of them, but I'd force myself to. And then suddenly, hey, you know what? I got the strength now to get out of bed. Then I'd be out of bed and I'd go, wow, actually, I've got the strength now to actually go and make some breakfast. Okay, and then I'd have some breakfast and I'd go, okay, I'm going to reward myself now. I'm going to have a cup of tea.
Right.
And then after my cup of tea, guess what? I'm going to go down to that computer and I'm going to stay there for an hour and I'm going to search for some jobs.
Right.
Okay, what I was doing was taking steps, little steps, steps by step by step by step. And it occurred to me during those times, my gosh, I'm not the only one in the world experiencing this, surely. And then I'd study. I'd go into Facebook and look at all the other Facebook groups of all these people going through so much depression, anxiety, stress. And I'd say, wow, I'm not alone. I got to get through this. I got to get through this not only for me, I've got to get through it for my daughter. I've got to get through it for my friends, all the people supporting me. That was the kind of thing that motivated me. Now, at that time, had I had the ability to go to a podcast like Vinay Deobhakta's A Fighter's Mind podcast, which talks about his own depression and dark times, interviews people about their difficulties and everything and how they got out of it, that's going to be inspiring. If I'd had something like that, I would have been going, wow, okay, if he can do it, so can I. And that's what I needed at the time. I did find that. I found that from finding my way to motivational speakers, Tony Robbins. In those days, I was looking at him going, who is this guy, this loud American guy? And I was thinking, okay, well, he's actually got a message here. It's a positive message. And I got to follow it. I got to try my best. I don't want to follow it. He gave me a really good tip once. He said, look, if you're feeling down and broke and depressed and everything, he said, I was like that too. And he said, you know how I got out of it? And I was listening, but this is going to be interesting. It's going to be difficult. I better write it down. He said, I changed my state of mind.
Yep.
Oh, it's changed his mind. How long did that take him? And then he gave me an example. He basically said, okay, what you got to do now? You're feeling really bad. Look in the mirror. I looked in the mirror. Okay, now say, I am somebody. I am somebody. Say it again. I am somebody. I'm not going to stay here bankrupt. I'm not going to stay here with no money. I'm going to do something. I'm going to get up there. I'm going to take a step. All right? That's all I needed. Now, for me, what I did was after it finished, I sat there thinking, okay, this was inspirational. What am I going to do? You know what I did? I spent half an hour repeating, I am somebody.
Right.
Until I actually felt a change in my frequency.
Right.
Suddenly my subconscious was believing that I was somebody. Right? Consciously, I am somebody. I was saying it. In the back of my mind, I was going, but I'm not anybody. I got no money. I am somebody. I'm not anybody. There's just on the Herald front page that told me, they're telling everyone that I'm a down and out. I am somebody. Kept on, to the point where half an hour later, I experienced a change, which is, you can't really explain the change. You just experience it. There was a thing of knowing deep down here, man, I am somebody. Okay. That's when I started working, started thinking correctly, started creating again. Right. And then, believe it or not, when you get into that state of mind,
Momentum as well.
you get into that momentum, you start networking, you start attracting people. It's the law of attraction. Instead of attracting people who are also down and out, we can all, misery loves company. Let's go to the pub. I'm down and out too. I got no money, but someone gave me $20. I'll share it with you. Let's go and have a beer. Instead of hanging around those kind of guys, suddenly I was, hey, you're a successful gas owner. You own this petrol station. Can you give me a job? Okay. Well, we can't give you one pumping gas, unfortunately, because there's some negative stuff on you about the article, and we're not allowed to give people like you anything to do with dishonesty, whether it's your own money or not. The way it reads, dishonesty, we can't give you a job pumping gas at the petrol station. Now, instead of me going, oh, buddy, I thought you were a friend of mine. Well, you can't help me, walking off. I said to him, okay, well, you know what? I don't really need the money. Let me sweep the floor for you. For 2 days, I'm going to come here. I'm going to just clean up this place. And you just give me some food or something to take home. Why did I do that? Routine. It still gave me a sense of worth. My self-esteem was building up. 2 days of sweeping, I'd go home and say, look at Graham's forecourt. Beautiful, sparkling new. I did that. Okay, he gave us some dinner for tonight. Okay, that was a step. Little steps like that. And then more and more you can build up your mind like that, more and more you can affect your subconscious mind, then suddenly the world will open. Your inner thinking expresses your outer reality. Okay, I genuinely believe that. I'm actually an example of that, right? I know so many people who've been through a lot less than what I've been through, and it's destroyed them, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. A lot of things I see, a lot of people come to me, 99% of them, I help them. I get them over the line. There's that small fraction of people, I show them the answer. But that old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That's very heartbreaking, because I see that every now and then too. Not a lot, fortunately. But every now and then, even I get people I just cannot help. I show them the answers and they just cannot take the final step outside their comfort zone, have faith to make it happen. And they miss out. And for guys like me, it's heartbreaking because I can see the answer.
Yep.
See? So, yeah, I think that's the answer, really. If you really want to be successful in life, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you want to make money, you want to help people, you need resilience. You need to be able to go through the tough times.
Yeah.
Right? I was referring to my mentor, one of my mentors, Roger Batnaga, who was the owner of Noel Leemings. Very successful man, from nothing to multimillionaire. Okay, the last thing he said to me, the last time I saw him was when I got into difficulty back in 2008. I said, Roger, I'm in a bit of shit. I'm facing bankruptcy. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. You know what he said to me? No matter what happens, Vinay, remember this. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. Never. That's a sin. Setbacks, they're inevitable. As an entrepreneur, you're always going to get setbacks. You've got to accept them. You've got to accept them, right?
Yep.
Then they're going to come. But that's fine. But giving up, that's a sin.
Right.
Okay. What did Ted Turner, the famous guy, say, owner of CNN? Winners never quit. Winners never, ever quit. Quitters never, ever win.
Right.
All right. So you want to be a winner. The world loves a winner. Oh, it's a fact. Take it from me. I know. When I was down and out, I thought I had a whole lot of legal, I come from a legal family. I was born and bred in the law, right?
Yeah.
All my friends were lawyers, legal family, right? When I was down and out, 2 or 3 rang me.
Yeah.
Oh, Vinay, you're in a bit of difficulty. We don't care what you've done. We love you. We want to help you. 2 or 3. All the rest of them nowhere, right? When I bounce back, when word gets out that this guy's now, doing well out of his McKenzie Friends and he's going on to bigger and better things, he's doing this overseas, doing this in Aussie, doing this in London and everything, suddenly the phone's ringing again. Suddenly, hey, where have you been? This sort, I haven't seen you about 15 years, wanted to catch up, like, yeah, really? You want to catch up with me? It's like, bugger off.
Right.
Okay, yeah, so everyone loves a winner.
Yeah.
Right? Fact of life, it's psychology.
Yeah, that's right. And then if it,
Someone like you impress me as someone who's done well for yourself. You'll be getting to the next phase pretty soon, the phase I'm in, where when you do well, you do such to think, well, what else, what now? And that's when you can look around and you can go, wow, I can help a lot of people. And that's what I'm doing now with my new career move. I mean, I don't have to work anymore, but I'm only 57, right? I'm one of these guys who's going to work till I drop. I love working. If I'm interested in something, I'll home in on it. It's a project. Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Now, a big component now for me, though, is not just building upon the kind of thing I've already started. It's about helping even more people. And with all the cuts that we're getting now with mental health funding, I mean, the government's just announced, a couple of days ago, they're not going to be able to fund a lot of the mental health stuff now. And people are wondering, well, what are we going to do now, right? Police in New Zealand no longer attending mental health call-outs,
right?
Haven't got the resources. The reality of it is the governments haven't got any money anymore. There's a lot of people out there that need help. Young men from the age of 15 upwards, going through all sorts of issues. People who've lost their jobs, don't know how to handle it. Okay, people who are going through relationship problems, don't know how to handle it. People who are going to court, found themselves in the family court, have no idea what to do, can't afford lawyers. Those are the kind of people that I'm going to be able to help through my Fighter's Mind podcast.
Sure, awesome.
And I'll be interviewing some relatively well-known people as well, musicians.
Yeah,
a couple of sports stars.
Nice.
It'll be quite an interesting sort of thing what I'm doing. I've got a very flamboyant co-host as well. Comes from a music background, a music producer. So what we're doing is the world's first again. That's me. McKenzie Friend Professionals was cutting edge. It was world's first. I believe that I'm going to be able to drive the start of a new profession worldwide, which is going to improve the legal system, which is going to help a lot of people. But then I've also got the mental health advocacy now, which I'm really passionate about. The Fighter's Mind. Reason why it's called a Fighter's Mind is because, at the end of the day, when we're born crying. We're struggling from the day we're born. That is life. That is life. That's what we're here to do, believe it or not. We're here to struggle and create and to love our neighbor. So the way we do that is we've got to develop the right mindset.
Yeah, totally.
Right? I wouldn't have got through where I am now if I hadn't have had a fighter's mind.
Totally.
And I have a passion for professional boxing. I have for many years, since I was a boy. And litigation is adversarial. That's what we British brought into the system, the adversarial system. It's actually war on paper. Me, I'm a hired gunslinger. That's what I do, right? It comes naturally to me to be a very good litigator. Mental health, that took a little bit of transition for me because counseling and law are very different.
Right.
As a lawyer, you're telling people what the answers are. You're effectively giving them leading questions. This is the answer. Did go away? This is how much it costs. As a counselor, you're actually asking people open-ended questions and you're getting them to find the answer themselves.
Yeah, okay.
Through getting to know themselves. It's a different process. It's a much more gentle process as a counselor.
Right.
I'm talking to you. You're going through a lot. You're talking to me about a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff that's held you back, a lot of stuff that's embarrassing, a lot of stuff that's shameful.
Right.
You've got my trust. I trust you. You trust me. I'm helping you. I'm helping you come to the answers about how you came here, how you can resolve your trauma. I'm helping you come to the answers instead of telling you what the answers are, Tyler. As a counselor, that's a different skill set as to when you're a lawyer, when you're basically telling them what the answer is. So for me, very litigator, adversarial, like the back of my hand, right? For me to transition into counseling, it's taken about 6 years. It's taken a bit of study. It's also taken a little bit of mind training as well to think differently. And that's why I've held off this new business until I'm ready to deliver. And I am now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod. I really appreciate it. It's been really interesting and I feel like I've learned a lot. I had no idea about McKenzie Friends prior. So that's interesting. And I look forward to seeing how you go on with the podcast and the people you interview and the impact you can have.
I'm very much looking to start. And I would also like to extend an interview opportunity to you, Charlie.
Sweet, yeah.
All right, so you'll hear from the appropriate person, and we'll ask you and invite you whether you'd like to come on, tell us about you, and tell us a bit more about your business.
All right, sweet, awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.